Welcome, guys. Welcome to Top Wisdom. Today's topic is composition and features of business cycles. We're going to talk about composition and features of business cycles. This is an economics topic which grade 12s learn. So, I wanted to do this topic because most of the time it appears on examination, and it's very important that you guys do know this topic. So, guys, I'm going to start and explain what is business cycle. Business cycle refers to the fluctuation in economic activity and production over the several months or years. They seem to indicate a long-term trend typically involving shifts over time between periods of rapid economic growth, expansion or boom, and periods of stagnation or decline or contraction or recession. Forecasting relates to the economic indicator used to forecast the trends in the business cycle. So basically they use this to predict the future economically. But I will explain more business cycle. You will understand after you've done watching this video. You definitely understand what is business cycle or what is going on business cycle. So without wasting any time, I'm going to start with the key concepts. Starting with business cycle. Exactly, business cycle: successive periods of growth and decline in economic activities. Depression, not the depression that you think, the economic depression. Economic activity is at its lowest depending of the recession. Economic indicator used to measure trends in the economy, e.g. GDP. Peak point where the economic expansion is at its highest. Phillips curve illustrates the relationship between unemployment and inflation, recession and negative economic growth for at least 2 successive quarters, through point where economic contraction is at its lowest. So that's it. The composition of the features of business cycles. Now we are beginning, guys. Listen carefully so that you could understand, because everything I explain, there is no useless concept here. Everything I explain is very important, guys. So it's very important that you memorize what I said so that you can pass a school. Nature of business cycle: changes in economic activity are recurring but never exactly the same or the same magnitude. Different circumstances and expectations cause consumers and producers to respond differently to initiating force. The duration and amplitude of every business cycle will be different. Business cycles are recognized by the following: 2 periods, namely contraction and expansion; 2 turning points, namely true and peak; 4 phases, namely recovery, prosperity, recession, and depression. By the way, guys, recession is when an economy is in a difficult situation. That's recession. I think countries that have suffered this, you can research yourself on Google. You can research for yourself on Google. I think it's Zimbabwe, Sudan. Yeah, those are the countries who found themselves in a difficult situation, in a recession mode. And recession is not that worse. Depression is the one that's worse. And there was, if you watch the news, I think, and if you are in social media like TikTok, social media, I think you know this thing, the thing what I'm talking about. There've been rumors on USA being on recession, things like that. So that's part of the economic things. Demonstration diagram of the business cycle. Below shows economic activity over an extended period of time as an economy moves between periods of expansion and periods of contraction. So this is the figure I'm talking about. Figure below actually is the figure that I'm talking about. This is how it looks like. As you can see here, starts with recovery. It is where the economy is going up, prosperity, go up, boom. That's when you see it's actually peak. And the contraction goes down. It is when it goes down, as you see it's written for you here. Recession, depression, which I told you is one of the hardest, and true, which is also the hardest. Then goes back to recovery. It actually repeats the same process. But it's very important that you guys know that Recession, depression, it is when the economy is not in a stable condition. It is when the country is going through a lot. And do not forget this. So, as I've drawn for you, when you write on examination, they might ask you to draw this. So, please memorize this as it is. And definitely, I believe in you guys that you will remember this, because it's easy to remember. You know, when it's going down, it's recession and depression, then it's true. So you won't forget. Then when going down, you also write contraction, and when going up, it's expansion. So economic activity is shown by upward and downward movement of the curve. The period where there is a general increase in the economic activity is known as an upswing. Where there is an increase, known as an upswing. A period general decline economic activity is called a downswing, obviously. The business cycle escalates between the upper peak and lower through turning points along the trend line. The length of the business cycle is measured from the peak to peak, or the through from through to through. So I'll leave this one for you guys. You can go check it out on textbook, but I'm just explaining to you guys how it works. When it's going down, you should know that it's recession and depression, which is when countries are going through a lot. The country, by the way, the country is going through a lot and is struggling economically. But when it's going up, it's recovery and prosperity. You can write that down. You can write that down. Real or actual business cycle. An actual business cycle is obtained when an effect of irregular event seasons and long-term growth trend are removed from the time series data. That is an actual business cycle. The length of the duration of the cycle measured from true to true or peak to peak. And this distance peaks throughs from the trend line is known as an amplitude and shows the severity of cylindrical fluctuation. So guys, you know that I'm always honest. You know I'm always honest. As you can see, this is a real or actual business cycle. This one normally on examination it doesn't appear. I won't lie to you, but I don't say don't study it, but it doesn't appear. It's been 3 years. It didn't appear on the question papers. I don't know, but maybe they might surprise you because you are 2023 matriculants. Maybe they might surprise you, but this one normally it does not appear. So I won't stick to it. I would leave it to another video. So I'll go to explanations. There are numerous theories as to the causes of the business cycles. Now we're going to the causes of business cycle. You can write down on your notes causes of business cycles. Among these are the monetarist approach and the Keynesian approach. Watch this out, guys. They might ask you on maybe on multi-choice on examination. Just remember this. Among these are monetarist approach and the Keynesian approach. The government uses monetary instruments such as interest rates to mediate the business cycles. The exogenous explanation: exogenous variables are those independent factors that can influence business cycles and originate outside the economy. Some economists believe that the business cycles are caused by the exogenous factors such as these described below. And the monetarists believe markets are inherently stable and disequilibrium is caused by incorrect use of policies. So other economics believe that it is caused by incorrect use of policies, as you know, policies like monetary policy. If you don't know monetary policy, you can watch my previous videos, or even I haven't made a video about monetary policy. I will make it later. So you make sure that you subscribe so that you can watch it later. Weather conditions or market shocks cause upswings and downswings. Weather conditions or market shocks cause upswings and downswings. Government should not intervene in the market. Sunspot theory based on the belief that increased solar radiation causes changes in the weather conditions. Technological changes really, even on my own opinion, I think it does play a role. I think the economists are right here because it does play the role technologically. As technology advances, things have to change. Some people lose jobs, so unemployment increase. So yeah, it works that way. And also government interventions, it also plays a role here. So I won't go how you draw this, because also this doesn't appear most of the time. So the endogenous explanation. The endogenous variables are dependent variables. They are dependent variables. Guys, what's the difference between exo and endo? Exogenous and endogenous is that exogenous are independent, but endogenous are dependent. That's the difference. Just remember that when you see endo, that means dependent. When you see exo, means independent. You can take it that way so that you can remember. Whenever you see X, it's independent. Whenever you see endo, means dependent. This follows the belief that economic growth is primarily the result of endogenous and not external forces. This is often called Keynesian view. The Keynesian approach holds the view that markets are inherently unstable and therefore government intervention may be required. Here, we want government to intervene. I've already talked about government intervention on my previous video. I will leave a link, and so if you don't know what government interventions are or what government does when it intervenes. The price mechanism falls to coordinate demand and supply in markets, and this gives rise to upswings and downswings. Obviously, this statement makes sense because when there's demand, it should rise, it should play upswings, things like that. Because prices increases, and you know that you know how economics works. When the demand is high and the supply is low, obviously, the price should increase. So yeah, prices are not flexible enough. Wages. A business cycle is an inherent feature of the market economy. Inherent links of mismatches between demand and supply are normally features of the economy. I've already explained what about demand and supply, how it works. Obviously, when the supply is low, and when the demand is low, the price should decrease. Types. The businesses cycle is one kind of the cycle found in the market economies. Other less obvious kinds occur less regularly. So here are these types of Keynesian approach. Many people forget them. Even I myself, when I was writing exam, I did forget them because it's tough to memorize them. But I'm gonna help you guys memorize them. I'm definitely gonna help you guys memorize them, and do not make the same mistake I did. Kitchen cycles last between 3 or 5 years, caused by adapting inventory levels in the business. So kitchen, 3 to 5 years. Juggler, 7 to 11 years. Kuznets cycle, 15 to 20 years. Then contradiff, the one that is very difficult to pronounce, is 50 years. So remember, guys, the one that's very difficult to pronounce, which is contradiff, is 50 years. The Kuznet is 15 to 20 years. The juggler, you can even say the jungle, is 7 to 11 years. It is caused by changes in the net investment by the government. So the juggler is about the government. The kitchen is about the inventory. So you can write down, as long as the words are very short, and you will definitely remember. The one that's difficult to pronounce, which is the contradiff, you can just say, you can remember that is 50 years. Whenever you see in exam that they ask you what is contradiff, I think you won't even be able to pronounce it. You just remember that we talk about 50 years here. Then Kuznet is about 15 to 20 years. And the changes is activity in the building and construction industry. But this is a topic for later. If you didn't understand, you can comment down below. I will definitely go on to it and explain. I'll explain some things you didn't understand. So besides that, I'm going to another one here. Government policy. Government can use monetary and fiscal instruments to help stabilize the business cycle, also called fine-tuning the economy. Policy instrument. Monetary policy can be defined as policies used by monetary authorities, SARP, to change the quantity of money in circulation as well as the interest rate, with the aim to stabilize prices. To change. Remember, the aim is to what? Stabilize prices. That's why when usually when the government prints money, he prints money because he's so that he can able to pay up his debt. His debt, he can able to pay the debts of the government. But you can't just print a lot of money because it will cause inflation. You know this by now. He has to stabilize the prices, reach full employment, and achieve high economic growth. So I won't stick that much on this one, because I've told you that monetary policy, I will do it later as an individual video. I'll make a video about it straightforward. Open transaction. These are some of the things of the monetary policy. Open transaction. The SIRP can directly increase or decrease the supply of money by buying or selling government securities in an open market. So this will appear on multiple choice. The SARP can increase or decrease the supply of money by buying and selling government securities in an open market. Interest rate. If the banks experience a shortage of funds in the money market, they are accommodated by SIRP when they are allowed to borrow money through the repo system, repurchase tender system, at the rate known as the repo rate. So they borrow money through the what? Repo system. Cash reserve requirement. The SIP is permitted by the Banks Act to occasionally change the minimum cash balances the banks are required to maintain in order to manipulate the money creation activities of the bank. See the money multiplier equation. So this is it, the cash reserve requirement. Remember, what falls on monetary policy is the open market transaction interest rate, and cash reserve requirements. Make sure you guys remember these things. Then we're going to the fiscal policy, which I will also make a video about it and as an individual, but I will explain a little bit. So the fiscal policy is a process of using taxation and public expenditures to even out the swings of the business cycle. Governments, through their fiscal policy, have a powerful weapon for stabilizing and ironing out and smoothing off the cycle, to stop peaks from ending in high inflation and troughs into high levels of unemployment. To stop what? Peaks of ending high inflation. So they use the fiscal policy to stop the high inflation when they see that, okay, now we are heading to where the inflation, where there's going to be high inflation. I think you guys know inflation, but if you don't know it, it is when the prices of goods and services are increasing. Based on, as you can see now, in 2023, the rent just fall, the prices of goods and services are increasing. The rent just fall compared to other currencies like dollar and euro. So the prices of goods and services increases, which will affect a lot of people because their salaries don't increase, they stay the same, but prices of goods and services are increasing. So that's inflation. So the government stops that and throws into high levels of unemployment. So that's it. The total, and I could go here, but this is going to make the video very, very long, guys. So I'm gonna make a part 2, guys. I'm gonna make a part 2 for this. I'm gonna make a part 2 where I will stick to it alone. So guys, make sure you subscribe and like the video and check out other videos. Perfect market and imperfect market, I've already made a video about that, so it's important that you guys check it out so that you can learn what is perfect and imperfect market, which is one of the most important topic on economics. Because if you don't know that topic, you basically have failed your economic exam, because it revolves around it. It always asks perfect and imperfect market. You might write an essay about it. and also government intervention, market failures. Those are also important topics. So guys, it's very important that you subscribe and check out those topics and know them. So guys, without wasting any time, peace.